Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's Harry from Spurs TV. I'm back with another match reaction video. So Spurs won 3-1 against Palace. Bounced back from the loss against Wolves a couple of weeks ago now. And yeah, they're sort of back in the top four race. Not fourth actually, because Villa got a result at Luton. But let's think of things. Let's dissect this game. So the first half, Wolves. Ironically, I'm saying Wolves. Palace came and set up like Wolves did. With it was a 3-4-3. It's a quite similar formation, and they kind of just sat back as usual, which at this point we should be expecting playing against Spurs, a team to come and sit back that deep, because we've seen it has success. And Spurs, for the most part in the first half, created nothing. The only clear-cut chance I can remember was Werner, who missed a one-on-one. He almost kind of had too much time to decide what to do. And I think if you watch on the replay, he probably was better off chipping the keeper earlier in the action. And they only had one other shot. So I think Palace had 3 shots and Spurs had 2 in the first half, or something very similar. So Palace were keeping Spurs out. But I kind of fed up of this, and I want to bring this up because obviously Conte got much criticism last season for this same sort of thing. But again, the first half was poor, and probably it's been like this for months. And I think a lot of the results have come papered over the cracks because, as I got on to say, in the second half, they woke up. But what can you do? Andrew's kind of forced to make changes later on because Palace scored from a free kick, which again was a set piece. But in this case, I kind of don't blame the defence for it because it was a very good free kick. And Johnson came on the right. Kulusevski moved into the middle, which kind of helped us a bit because Johnson, who, to be fair to him, I'm not his biggest fan, as many people may know who watch my content. He did make an impact of some sort. And for once, he seemed like he wanted to actually take on this man, And he set up the equaliser for Werner. And subsequently, Romero got a header from a Maddison cross, which kind of seemed more like a lump into the box, if I'm being honest. And then obviously with Palace chasing the game, Son got a goal at the end. With obviously, they threw not everyone forward, but most people forward. And then on the long ball over the top, Son ran on from the defender and he couldn't really miss. I think that chance, and a lot of people might disagree with me, I think the Son chance was easier than the Werner one because I think Werner had almost too much time to think. And if you watch the Son where he's coming from a good angle, where he can kind of open up his foot, Werner was coming, even though you think coming from the middle was actually easier, it's actually not. He kind of had, with the middle, the keeper can kind of, especially how close Werner was with the keeper at that point, his best option was to chip it, and he didn't. With the Son one, because he's coming from a wide area into the middle, in like an angle, if you watch like a diagonal thing, he kind of has more space to open his foot. It's kind of like reminiscent of, I hate to use as an example, reminiscent of like Henry's finishes, in the sense that he would come from like a wide area and do the same sort of thing. And obviously Kane did similar sort of things as well for us. Now, the performance wasn't great. And Villa away next week does not bring me any confidence. Again, it's like a 6-pointer game for us if we really want our 4th spot. Yeah. But we kind of scraped a win, really. I know it was 3-1 and it was 2-goal cushion in the end, but it didn't really feel that way. Okay, in the second half we did start play quicker and we're a bit more direct. But the question needs to be asked, why were we not starting like this? Obviously in the first 10 games we were. Like I said, it's kind of reminiscent of Conte. Is it because the players themselves, quality-wise, are not good enough? Because I know a lot of them aren't good enough, Like the likes of Emerson, who, they did all right, I guess. But he did still make mistakes. But we kind of got through the game with Emerson at the right back, just about, I'd argue. So, like, is it the players, is it the quality, is it the tactics, is it the manager? Because a lot of these managers we've had come in are not, they don't want to tweak it at all, really. Unless they're literally chucking the kitchen sink. If you look at Ange, he only really played a 4-4-2 when playing 9-men Liverpool to get that goal at the end. Very rarely he plays with 2 strikers. Very rarely 4-3-3 changes. It might be the personnel, but never the sort of tactics either. Within the 4-3-3. The back 4 or 5, they never change the style of the way they play. And today we were almost caught out with the passing around the back, actually. And there was like an instance when I think Eze blocked a pass, probably from Emerson, actually. And then Eze bounced up, and I think it was Mateta was playing up front for him. He almost grabbed onto it and scored. So this pass around the back nonsense, for me, I don't like it. I think he needs to be a bit more direct. I think that's one of the things that was missing in this team, a bit more direct. Even though I'm praising Johnson now for his performance, I still think he can do better. Kulusevski, again, for me, poor. Werner, to his credit, he scored his goal in the end, but it's almost his first half again. He was just cutting inside. His best success was actually in the second half when he went on the outside. And people following my Twitter might know this, but I was making big emphasis on the wingers actually playing on the outside because the middle is so congested because of the fullbacks overloading inside. So you end up having, I mean, if the wingers are not going to play wide, you end up having 6 players in the middle, 6, 7 players. And there is wide areas, but we're not using them. Obviously, in the Poch reverse, at least to Poch's credit, he did use the wide players, but he used the fullbacks as not the wingers, but as the wide players, let's say. And then the wingers actually cut in, and the fullbacks would play wide. In this system, it's like both. All the players are inverting, and this is why I think we're so predictable. I still stand by what I said. We're very predictable again today, and if it was a better side and play against, I think they would have beaten us. And this is why Villa beat us at home earlier in the season, because they know you just play 10 men behind the ball, you shut up shop, and you're trying to hit them on the counter, or obviously we all know a set piece a week, score off a set piece because of the zone and marking stuff. So where do we go from here? Well, Ange needs to tweak it, I think. We're going Villa away. I don't think we'll play this such attacking football there, especially with Villa at home. I think it'll just pick us apart. Watkins is on form. Bailey's looking good. Douglas Luiz is starting to turn into like a real big player for them. I mean, even their keeper Martinez is arguably one, if not the best keeper in the league this season. I know people say Vicario, but Martinez hasn't really put a foot wrong at Villa this season, and he's just more. I see him more as better goalkeeper. That's another debate for another day. But it's a tough game next week, and on the reflection of this performance, I think we're going to struggle against Villa. They know how to counter us. But in this instance, if we play so open at Villa Park, I think they'll pick us apart. Even if they're playing on the break at their own place, they'll pick us apart. And I think we kind of need to, I know it sounds weird, counteract the style what they play by actually playing counter-attacking ourselves. But will Ange do it? I don't think he will. He's too stuck in his own ways. And I think this is going to be his downfall. Unless he changes the way he does things, I just think it's going to be his downfall. It's okay scraping results against teams like Palace, because Palace had the new manager and maybe there was going to be a bounce, but the quality-wise, they were missing a lot of players. I know Eze played, but they did score the goal, but they're not good side. They'll stay out, but they're not good sides. So where do we go from here? I mean, there needs to be changes. Obviously, the quality of the players need to improve next summer, regardless. But in terms of short-termism to the end of the season, he needs to find a way to get past these low blocks, because like Poch before him, if he doesn't, we're not going to win anything. We're just not. Well, that's to bring in a certain type of player of a quality. I'd argue if he can keep these inverted wingers, but he needs to bring wingers as alternatives that can actually play like on the touchline. So at least you have 2 wingers who will, cut inside, and then 2 which will play further wide. So against these teams, you play those 2. This is why a lot of people will say earlier this year that we really missed Perisic, because Perisic was one of the few wingers we had who would hold the touchline and put in a cross, which obviously Richarlison was succeeding from earlier in the season. But we don't have that anymore. Some people argue Solomon, but from what I've seen of Solomon, the guy just, again, cuts inside most of the time, even when he's on the strongest foot. And I noticed that a lot with Werner today in the first half, where even though he's left-footed, he just kept cutting inside with his right foot. And I'm like, mate, go down the touchline. And in the second one, when he finally started to do it, we finally started to see success, because we weren't using the wide areas. Teams are going to expect us to play in field. So if we play on the outside a bit, I think it will confuse them. It will probably stretch them, actually, because it will push their team will end up having to split it. Right now, the teams are playing they're defending one area pretty much. So Ange needs to change it, otherwise I mean, I've already seen found out, but he needs to reinvent himself in some ways, because I just don't think this football sustainable to actually win a title. It's also, we're just kind of too reckless in the way we play. Today we got away with it, but teams know how to set up against us now. So he has to reinvent the style, or just, and everyone argues the plan B, or tweak the way it works, or maybe in some ways not playing inverted fullbacks every single game, not playing inverted wings every single game. Maybe those are the areas where you can switch things, and also maybe change formation every so often. If it was 1-1 and it was like 10 minutes to go, do something wild and go 4-4-2 again. He just doesn't do it. But anyways, we'll see what happens in coming news.